Salute to everyone who's watching. Today we're going back to dominance. So one of the people that I coach, the clients that I have, they told me that you've been talking a lot about an emergency account, but you really have not spoken in much detail about an emergency account. And it got me thinking that I should do a video for you so that you know how to create an emergency account. Um, and I decided to do something different for you in terms of actually putting it as a presentation mode so that you can take a little bit of notes. So I'm going to talk about an emergency account in terms of what it is and how to build it, and for you to evaluate like what really do you need so that you can have an emergency account. An emergency account, basically, I have my notes here. So it's basically an account or a fund that you use so that you are prepared for unexpected expenses. For example, you can have it in terms of unforeseen health expenses, home appliances repairs and replacements. For example, your geyser or your tap or the toilet or something like that. Major car fixes. Sometimes a car can crash or can experience some kind of emergency that you need so that you can fix it. That's an emergency account for you. And the most important one that made me do this video is unemployment, because unemployment right now is just something that we are all facing in different ways. So an emergency account, first of all, you need to know that an emergency account, you put it as it's a foundation account. That is where I like to put it first. It's a foundation account. So a foundation account, basically, I would say it's a starting point. It's really your starting point. Meaning that if you want to accumulate money for yourself, make sure that you have a foundation account first. I did before say that in another video that you should create an emergency account before you settle your debts. And that is basically it. You need to have a foundation account where if something happens whilst you're still paying your debt, you have something to prepare yourself with. You need to prepare yourself with by having an emergency account. And the best way to have an emergency account is if it is a savings account. It's a savings account, basically. You don't put it as a check account, you put it as a savings account. Suddenly my marker doesn't want to write anymore. So you put it as a savings account, and it goes for different people as well. It goes from people who are unemployed, those who are employed, high school children as well can have an emergency account. University students can have an emergency account. People who are working can have an emergency account. Even pensioners can have an emergency account. But I'm going to evaluate more with high school and those who are unemployed. I think those are the ones that I really want to talk about. High school, university, and those who are unemployed. And I will talk about those who are employed in another video so that I don't make it way too long. So, how do you build an emergency account, basically? The first thing that you need to do when you are building an emergency account is that you should know how much you want to save, how much you want to save. 1, to save. When it comes to high school students and university students, you really need to know that you won't need as much money as someone who is who does not live with their parents anymore. You understand? Because of the fact that you are still dependent on your parents, but there are certain needs that you're going to need so that you can have an emergency account. You can save approximately, let's say for example, let's go into figures when it comes to this one. You can approximately, let's say they give you 400 a month. They give you 400 allowance a month. So when you have or you want to create an emergency account, because of the fact that I know allowance that most high school children really don't know how to save, take 400 and deposit 50 rands as your emergency account amount. Put it at least 50 rands if you have 400, so that you can create an emergency account for yourself. Or make it a little bit better. Make it 100 rands, so that you can do that. Basically, save at least 20% of whatever you get as a high school student. Ideally, I would save approximately 20 to 50% of the allowance that you get, but it depends on your circumstances and the expenses that you have. But ideally, don't save less than 20% of whatever you get. 200, 100, any amount, it doesn't matter. Even if you get 100 rands a month, you can save like 5 rands a month, then save it and start off your emergency account from there. So I know this is a very tough subject to talk about, and especially when it comes to students, but we really need this kind of knowledge. When you are a university student, let's say you're a university student, and university students, I know how impulsive they are when it comes to spending money. Let's say you're a university student, and university students, I know most of the times they receive a lot of amounts, but let's say they receive 800 rands. 800 rands, and I know usually they were gonna say that our expenses are, when you don't live at home, your expenses are food and all and everything else. Let's say your money, allowance money is 800 rands. Ideally, if you want to create an emergency account for yourself in this instance, I would preferably tell you that save up to 50%. So if you have 800, I would ideally tell you to save 400 rands. Leave your urges alone. Know how to manage your money. I know you are so obsessed with alcohol. Not every month is needed so that you can drink alcohol. But you still have a 400 rands. You can do something about that. You can do something with that. So now let's go to those ones who are unemployed, the ones that I know that will always complain about this one. When it comes to unemployment, I know how much you struggle as a person, especially when you're sitting at home and doing nothing. But let me tell you, you can make and you can create an emergency account for yourself. An emergency account is very much important, especially for those who are unemployed. So, for those who are unemployed, every cent that you save is crucial to your benefit. So let's say when you amount the allowance that you get, let's say you amount to, let's say it's 200 for argument's sake. You amount to 200 rands. You amount to 200 rands. Out of these 200, I would advise you to save at least 20%. 20% obviously of 200 is 40 rands. Every month, I would advise you to create an emergency account and deposit 40 rands in your savings account. I know that it's tough, and you're gonna tell them that blah 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 blah. But when it comes to unemployment, you need to know that in a crisis, you need to know what you really need. Things like new clothing, the latest sneakers, things you really don't need. They are not really things that you really need to be spending your money on. So when we continue in terms of our emergency account, so let us continue. When it comes to your emergency account, when we continue, you need to know the following. First of all, you need to know that every change that you have, you should keep it. Keep the change. You see those 50 cents that you have, those 1 rand that you have, and those 5 rand, 2 rands, even 20 cents that you have, those things can actually get you far if you actually know how to save them. You understand? I don't underestimate the power of a coin. I never underestimate the power of a coin. You put them in a piggy bank. I don't know where you put them, but you need to put them, and every time you get them, you save them and put them in there. They will amount to something. If you keep on putting them in there for the next 6 months, you can end up making like $200 out of nothing. So the other one is that you need to assess, and adjust your assess and adjust your contributions. Let me tell you something about this one. You see, a financial management book is gonna be your best friend. That is how you're gonna track the amount of money that you deposit every month. This, I don't know which, a little book, a big book, this will help you assess your expenses and your expenditure, and it will help you to know how much money do you have in your emergency account, because sometimes you can have more than enough and you might probably want to create another emergency account. So in this instance, there are times where you can spend or withdraw from your emergency account. So you need to know what you spend your emergency account on. That is when you are assessing your emergency account. And you need to know what you're going to spend your emergency account on. But there are instances where you need to know there are certain things that you don't need to spend your emergency account on. I know sometimes you get tempted to say that, I will patch it up and yeah, I'm gonna get money in the next month. Please never do that. If something is something that you really can't, you can live without, please do not ever touch your emergency account. And the amount of money that is inside the emergency account, it depends on where. If you are still with your parents, make a living of 3 to 6 months is in expenses. So for example, a high school student can make an emergency account from 500 to 2,000 rands. That's ideal for a high school student, because they don't really have that much of responsibility. When it comes to university students, 1,000 to 5,000 is very ideal for any university student. When it comes to unemployed, I would prefer them to have from 500 to 10,000 rands, because as you grow, more responsibility comes your way. So you better be prepared for that kind of responsibility, especially when you're unemployed. So you rate from 500 to 10,000 rands. One of the biggest advice I would tell you right now, I want to tell you three things. First of all, the emergency account will help you to to spend money on businesses and investments that you want to spend money on, because when you don't have a preparation, you just spend money like and finish it all in things that you really don't know how they're gonna be. If your money goes, what are you going to do? Yeah, you might say that, nah, I'm putting my money all, like those investors who said that they put it all and it worked out. Yeah, it might work out, but you need to prepare yourself. You need to have some kind of security. You can invest the 10,000, all your 10,000s, then you get and they get lost. What are you going to do then? You need to have security for yourself. Hence, I said it's a foundation account. The second thing that you need to know is that you need to have a building phase. What do I mean when I say building phase? Take 1 day to 6 months without spending on anything new that you really don't need. Take a minimum in spending in 1 to 6 months. Don't spend in any new clothes. Don't spend on any new shoes, or buy new shoes right now, and in the next 6 months don't buy any new shoes, any new clothes, any new phone, anything new that you really don't need. You only spend money on things that you need immediately, like food, electricity, maybe airtime to apply, and CVs, all of those things. The third advice that I would give you: know what money means to you. This is something that people really do not take into consideration. They don't know what money is. If you don't know money, you will not know how to manage it. If you don't know how to manage money, money will manage you. Know how to manage money, know how to control your money, and if you know how to manage yourself and know how to manage money, you will suddenly have a foundation. Then after having foundation, you will start accumulating more money in new ventures. You will start seeing things from another perspective, because now you have security. When you have security, you have more freedom to take risks. When you have security, you have an idea of just saying that, you know what, let me just do this. If it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. Other than you panicking and saying that, you know, I should. You understand? I should do this, I should do this, I should do this. That is not how you should be working. You should be working in creating more wealth for yourself. But in order for you to get wealth for yourself, you need to start having a foundation first. You can never start a house without having a foundation. And the foundation that you need is an emergency account. So don't forget to give this video a big thumbs up, subscribe, and comment below. Comment below if you want me to do more presentations like this for you. Today is the first day, but we are going to go more. I'm not an accountant. I'm not some kind of financial advisor. I'm a financial manager, not in a literal form, that is trying to help you be more financially literate. So always remember, /TechExtraSoldier salute you out.